Over the past few years, Peggle speedrunners have accomplished crazy feats in the various entries in the Peggle series. They've brought down times down to levels beyond what anyone thought was possible even just 2 or 3 years ago. But one lesser known niche of Peggle speedrunning are custom level packs. Peggle Nights was released with the ability to add level packs, and a few official and non-official level packs have seen speedrunning activity in recent years. Being a weird offshoot in Peggle's sequel, they haven't had nearly as much activity as other categories have. But despite this, there exists one category that has seen a strange level of competition. Not in terms of number of players, but in terms of just how ridiculously optimized the run has become for such an oddity. Let's look at the top 3. In fact, the only 3 that had submitted runs as of mid-October 2023. At the top you had, well, myself. I don't necessarily run Peggle as much nowadays as I used to, but this is actually one category I've held a few times now. Second at the time was Britsha, one of Peggle's best speedrunners. And the third and final runner is Pnaha? Wait, what is Pnaha doing in third? If you've seen my previous video or know anything about Peggle speedrunning, you'll know it's almost unthinkable for Pnaha not to be at the top of any category he plays. But it gets even stranger when you actually look at the times. My world record at the time was a 32:32. Britsha's second place time was a 34:26. A couple minutes behind, but nothing too crazy. But Pnaha's time, 1 hour, 2 minutes, and 40 seconds? How is this even possible for Pnaha, long regarded as the most dominant Peggle speedrunner in the world, to be about double the time of a 30-minute record? Well, welcome to the wacky world of Holiday Nights 08 Grandmaster. Let's begin with a bit of backstory. Out of the various level packs you can find for Peggle Nights, there are 3 main official level packs that were created essentially as free DLC for the game by PopCap. One of these is Holiday Nights 08. The level pack is fairly simple. It adds 5 new levels that you can play in quick play mode with any master, as well as 10 challenges based on these levels. It's not that much new added to the game, but it's a neat little level pack with some unique concepts. And out of the main types of runs that are done with these level packs, we'll be focusing on the Grandmaster run for Holidays 08. Grandmaster runs have a nice mix of playstyles. First, you tear through the any percent of the levels as quickly as possible in quick play mode, and then you beat any challenges that the pack has as well. When it comes to Holidays 08 GM, we'll see soon enough how strangely competitive this relatively niche category is, leading to the record disparity that we saw before. Let's see how these records work by diving in. And there's no better place to start with than with the first submitted run of the category, done by Britsha on April 23rd, 2023, and clocking in with a time of 1 hour, 16 minutes, and 13 seconds. The run begins innocently enough. The levels, while having some unique designs with visually interesting backgrounds, are generally considered to be fairly average difficulty when compared to Peggle Nights levels in general. The first level features many spinning circles with additional teleporters that can allow for some crazy lucky shots. Clearing this with a good master like Cinderbottom, Who, or Splork is normally fine for top runners of the game. The second level is one of the more unique levels in all of Peggle, honestly. With multiple long slides and spinning sets of pegs moving their way through the level, the second Holiday level can be a bit tricky or at least inconsistent. The third level has some interesting arcs and lines, but not too many moving pegs and plenty of good ways to approach it. The fourth level doesn't seem too bad, but the lower half of the level features a moving wave of pegs that locks and unlocks in a pattern. With many movers and chances for the pegs to be buried, this level can be a bit tricky. And finally, the fifth level. While this level features moving pegs, most of them are only gently swaying, and the rest of the level is laid out fairly straightforward. In Britsha's original record for the category, he didn't have much trouble, beating the 5 levels in just over 5 minutes. So far, so good. But this is where the challenges come in. Early on in the category's history, the challenges were done in order. In challenge focus runs, they can actually be done in any order, but for the first while, we wouldn't see any different routings. For the sake of explaining the challenges here though, we are going to go out of order right from the get-go, going from the easier challenges to the harder ones. To start with, a few of the challenges are fairly easy. There's a challenge where Holidays 2 has 50 oranges instead of 25, but with some luck and good play, it's not too bad to clear this one out. Another challenge has you beating the third level with a combination of powers that actually make it fairly trivial. A different challenge has you earning 100k style points, which you can get from long shots, free balls, or other style shots on the first level, and then beating the level beyond that. The very last challenge of the run involves scoring 1,000,000 points across all 5 levels of the pack. This one may sound daunting, but seeing as that averages out to only around 200,000 points per level, and where good play can get you 300k or more on a single level if you're being careful, it's not too hard to hit for experienced runners of the game. It's mainly just a time-consuming challenge. And then there's a duel against Peggle Knight's unique character, Marina. This one can be a little annoying since the AI can sometimes decide to just get truly ridiculous shots, but it's generally not the worst challenge. Britsha beat these 5 challenges without many fails, really only having a few attempts on the Marina duel. That covers the first 5 challenges, but the other 5 are much more, well, challenging, and a few are quite unique. One challenge sees the player having to get low score rather than a high score, beating Holiday's 08 level 4 with less than 100,000 points. These types of challenges have been included in Peggle content in the main game as well, and they're always kind of annoying, honestly. There's an annoying tendency the ball seems to have to never bounce where you want it to in the end of the level, always getting more points than you'd like. Generally, unless you have some very advanced strats, this challenge just requires a bit of luck. Still, it's much easier than what's to come. A different challenge involves scoring over 1.3 million points on the second level of the pack, which is more than the 5 level challenge combined. However, on this version, you actually permanently have triple score in your shots, making it much easier to earn points and actually earn free balls as well. In Britsha's first run, he used Master Hu for this challenge, trying to use the Zen Ball to get crazy shots with a lot of score. But with how moving the level is, there's still a good bit of randomness to it. Regardless, Britsha beat it in a few tries in his first run. The next challenge also involves points, getting a score of 350k on Holiday's 08 level 3, but only starting with 7 balls. This one comes down to knowing how to play for points in general, and Britsha got through this in only a few attempts in his record, using Marina and then playing smart with free ball skills to build up points. And now we get to the last 2 most brutal challenges. The first is nothing crazy on the surface. You need to simply full clear the first level of the pack. However, it becomes much harder when you realize that you're forced to use Renfield the Pumpkin to do so. Renfield in Peggle Deluxe is a actually somewhat useful character. He has what the community has called mini-zen, where the trajectory of your shot will be tweaked to be slightly better on its second pass through the level. Peggle Knights unfortunately completely nerfed this, making the aim assist non-existent. As a result, many shots simply drop down for their second pass and just fall straight through areas you've already cleared, providing no benefit. The other thing making this challenge so brutal are the moving pegs. Moving pegs are always the bane of speedruns of Peggle, as they destroy consistency, and this level is full of moving pegs. This challenge took Britsha a little under 12 minutes in his initial run. And then finally we have one more challenge that, once again on the surface seems fine until you actually start trying it out. It involves playing the 4th level of the pack and getting 8 pyramid pickup shots with the permanent pyramid bonus. A pyramid pickup shot is where, with Cat Tut's pyramid ability active, the ball bounces off the pyramid and then lands in the bucket's hole. This wouldn't be too bad, except for the fact that you only start with 4 balls, and the moving pegs in the level make it fairly difficult to consistently get the balls to the bucket without hitting something else first. In early runs of this category, it was pretty much left up to chance whether or not you'd get a decent exit from the pyramid pickup level. As an example, in Britsha's original run, it took him over 20 minutes to beat this one challenge. And at the end of his first run, Britsha clocked in at 1 hour 16 minutes and 13 seconds.
What a disaster.
For being a relatively short run, this was a long time. It only has 5 levels and 10 challenges, but as we'll see, truly optimizing this run would end up taking a lot of work and many painful hours of grinding. After Britsha's run, a little while passed by, until a month or so later, another runner approached the scene. And this runner was, well, it was me. I technically have a first blind run that I did that clocked in at about an hour and a half, well behind Britsha's first completed run, but I never submitted that one, so we'll start with my first submitted run. Both Britsha and I struggled on various challenges, and one of the worst was the Pyramid Pickup Challenge. However, I had come upon a very specific idea during my first run, and in my first submitted run, I utilized it. On the pyramid pickup challenge, I realized that any shot bouncing off the pyramid into the pyramid bucket would count as a pyramid pickup. Normally you have to hit a peg before bouncing into the bucket to get the bonus, but this challenge is specifically designed to allow for simply bouncing on the pyramid and hitting nothing else. This led to my idea: simply clear a path where I could consistently shoot the ball and bounce it into the bucket without hitting anything else, then rinse and repeat 8 times. And in this run, I utilized this strategy, starting with Lord Cinderbottom to clear a path, then bouncing the ball into the bucket repeatedly by aiming near the corner and getting shallow bounces. Got it. Easy. Easy to my life. Okay. With this strategy in hand, the challenge actually only took a few attempts, and where Britsha's run had taken over 22 minutes to beat the challenge, my run took only 3.5. I'm not going to pat myself on the back too hard for this, but Britsha did have this to say in future runs when talking about this challenge.
No matter what happens with the world record, Poetry will forever be the person that saved us from this challenge, as it took me an hour in my first attempt.
Of course, that's one of the earlier challenges, and this was back when the challenges were done in order. So while I crushed the next challenge, the Marina Duel first try, as the run continued I did bleed some time in other places. The worst offender was the 350k score with 7 balls challenge, where I took 24 minutes to finally clutch out the win, whereas Britsha had only taken 6.5. The rest of the run had ups and downs. I bled a bit more time on the low score and 1.3 million score challenges, but I did gain some back over Britsha in the Renfield Full Clear challenge, which I somehow got first try. That brought me to the last challenge, the multi-level score challenge, which I finished just a bit faster than Britsha. Yes. My final time, compared to Britsha's original 1:16:13, was 1:16:09. Oh god, I can't believe I actually got this one. I'm actually pretty excited about this one, because this is one that Britsha and I have both struggled at multiple times now, and somehow, after that entire run, the finishing time was less than 5 seconds off of Britsha's time. Little did I know this would spark a rivalry that would soon bring us both to put more time into this category than we ever would have imagined before. A month later, between various other runs Britsha did during this time, he eventually decided to return to Holidays 08. And this time, he was set on the sub-hour. On his very first attempt, he got on a good run. Using the new pyramid pickup strats, he beat that challenge within a few minutes, saving a ton of time over his PB.
One more, let's go!
In fact, one of his few major time losses was on the 1.3 million points level, where he took over 12 minutes, up from 7 in his original run. However, on the very next challenge, the Renfield Full Clear, he made up for it by getting it in just a couple of attempts.
I'm a gamer. I'm a god. F you guys. That would have been so funny comedically, but that would also hurt so much. Okay, thank god. We did it.
And on July 2nd, 2023, Britsha achieved the category's first sub-hour time, with a time of 53 minutes and 55 seconds.
Yeah. Damn. Alright, sub-hour done. F you.
At this point, the runs were still fairly primitive, in the sense that they still had many losses. Even in Britsha's second record, there were at least 15 minutes of time save, as long as you could avoid losses. Of course, that is much easier said than done for a category like this. In fact, for several months after this, Britsha and myself were the only ones who had even completed runs of the category. It slowly became a meme for the two of us that this silly category was truly the ultimate test of who the better Peggler was. And I was not ready to give up the record quite yet. About a month later, on the 8th of August, I struck again, this time with a time of 50 minutes and 3 seconds. This run was nothing spectacular. It had ups and downs, losing time on some challenges like the Marina Duel, but saving some time on others, such as the Low Points Challenge. There was no real innovation, just better play in a few places, and with more experience on the levels I knew, and so did Britsha, that it was only a matter of time till the record would go even lower. For the time, however, Britsha was content to let me hold the record, and for a bit of time it stayed there, right above the 50-minute mark. But after about 2 months, for some indescribable reason, I decided to give the run another go. And so, on October 5th, 2023, I began a fateful run of Holidays 08 GM. This run, too, was not an incredible masterpiece of a run, but it did shave off some losses here and there. Besides a few losses spread throughout, it didn't have too many major flaws. It saved some time on the Marina duel, lost a bit on the 350k challenge, and was mostly back and forth throughout the rest of the run. In the end, the run was a success, and leaning into the meme of the run, I said these words that I would later live to regret.
Let's go, baby! The first ever sub 50 and sub 45. Beat that, Britsha. Beat that, and then beat.
This certainly brought some more attention to the run, and although Britsha may have let me keep improving the record on my own otherwise, now it was on, and I would soon learn that the war of Holidays 08 was just beginning. After my initial run on the 5th of October, it took Britsha a few days to get a run going. In fact, he did struggle a bit to get a good run going at all, which is why the very first sound you hear in his next PB would be this.
Merry Christmas. Okay, let's go.
Still, if there's one thing Britsha knows, it's perseverance. And on the 13th of October, Britsha would strike with a time of 34 minutes and 26 seconds, blowing away my previous record by over 10 minutes. For a category like this was insane. At this point, the amount of time loss and level losses really begins to matter, so let's dive into exactly what he lost time to. Near the start of the run, he had 5 fails on the Pyramid Pickup Challenge.
How come in practice I was able to do this like first try? I don't know what's going on.
Although I had discovered the strategy of using fireballs to clear a path and get bounces into the bucket, at this point the strategy was still somewhat inconsistent, relying on getting good paths cleared with the fireball. Still, the challenge is fairly quick whether you lose or fail, and this only lost Britsha a couple of minutes. There was also 1 restart on the Marina duel, 1 fail on the low score challenge, and 1 fail on the 1.3 mil score challenge. Each of these only loses maybe 30 to 90 seconds total, but it does add up in the end. At the end of the run, however, Britsha had a great record. Even still, he mentioned what was becoming more clear with every run.
So this could sub 30, but it would take a really good run. So maybe someday I'll do that. But for now, I got the world record back, yay.
But I would not be so easily deterred. Over the next couple days, I began attempts to get the record back. At this point, however, the realization that any significant amount of time loss would kill a run really began to set in. Before this point, I had averaged getting a PB every 2 or 3 runs. With my 44-minute time, I was at 9 total runs for the category, but it would take many more to get another improvement now. After grinding for a couple of days, with many attempts dying to either the low score challenge, 350k, and the 1.3 million challenges, or, of course, the Renfield full clear, I finally got on a good run. Once again, you can tell how infuriating this run is based on the very first few seconds of what it would eventually be my new PB.
Okay, let's try again. Woo! Woo! Woo!
The run progressed well enough. Despite a slow any percent, I had only a few fails. In fact, throughout the whole run, I had less than 5 challenge fails, being on the Pyramid Pickup, 1 fail on the low score challenge, and 1 fail plus an early reset on the 350k. There were a few clutch moments as well, such as a near miss on the Marina duel and a first try Renfield full clear.
I literally can't do this. I can't. Wait, maybe the fever though? Okay, wait. Pause champ. Pause champ. That's enough. Let's go get burrito.
All in all, this allowed for a new record of 32-32, beating Britsha by almost 2 minutes. And once again, I summed up what we all knew was inevitable.
Let's go! Let's go! Oh, baby! Britsha said it before. This challenge is absolutely sub-30able. I think sub 25 is maybe stretching the limits, but probably viable as well.
I celebrated, and for a second, I thought that maybe I had finally won the war for Holidays 08 supremacy. But boy was I wrong, because Britsha was not ready to call it quits yet. October 17th, 2 days later, Britsha starts up a run. It's an alright run at first. It has a couple of losses early to the Marina duel, and another to the 350k points challenge. But it also has a couple of clutch moments.
I think that's it. Oh my god.
Additionally, Britsha has by this point just learned how to play these levels more efficiently and effectively in general. He's getting gold splits left and right. By the time he reaches the Renfield Full Clear Challenge, the last major barrier to success, he is over 6 minutes ahead of his PB, on pace for potentially a 28-minute time, even with his losses. But unfortunately, this is where disaster strikes. The Renfield Full Clear Challenge, while sometimes done in a lucky first attempt, can absolutely be a brutal run killer. As Britsha began to reset for good starts to the level, something that's pretty much necessary when you're forced to play as Renfield, he unfortunately kept getting bad start after bad start.
Oh man, another chance to get a free ball and another chance to fail it. Okay, well that's so fucking awesome. I just lost.
Eventually, after a couple minutes of not catching a lucky break, he finally had a winnable situation, though it still wasn't easy. To give you an idea of just how hard this level can be, I'm going to let the rest of this clip play out without commentary, so you can focus on the skill involved in even just finishing this challenge at all. Even though the time loss here was gut-wrenching, Britsha continued to the very last challenge, the 5-level million-point challenge. This challenge can be fairly slow, but Britsha played it quickly, going for quicker clears rather than making sure to full clear every level. Even so, on the 4th level, he was a bit doubtful of his pace.
I can't rush the last level. Yeah, I can't get sub 30, damn it. Because I threw. I should have chosen Chula, damn it.
But at this point, he realized something. He had such high score that, with a good end of level 4, he could simply lose the last level, and he would have enough points to win the challenge.
Oh. Wait, this is the chance. Okay. I literally just have to either death percent or win.
And in the end, he did get his good end.
Done.
I'm the Jesus.
4 minutes 49, 1 million.
Britsha won! Holy shit!
He had done it, and achieved Holiday's 08 GM's first sub 30 time. Here were Britsha's parting words for this run.
Now the ball is back in Poetry's court.
Britsha won!
So, I can't believe this was like 1 hour. Like, it was like a whole thing to get it to sub hour, and now we've got it to sub half an hour. The Holiday's 08. Truly a Christmas miracle. Thank you, Wiggy.
As a small break from this rivalry, let me point out that around this time, Pnaha, one of Peggle's greatest and most dominant record holders, had also decided to dip his toes into the Holiday's 08 GM ring. He was only the 3rd to finish a run at all, and his time was the 1:02.40 mentioned at the start of this video. For a long time I had teased Pnaha about this category, tempting him to play it, telling him he would never beat my time, which was obviously not true, but it was all in good fun. But funnily enough, as he began to dive into the challenges, he did actually realize that maybe matching Britsha and myself wouldn't necessarily be free.
Oh no. He's officially my worst speedrun in Peggle in a while. Maybe ever.
In his first run, he had fails in many places, with about a third of the hour-long run being spent on just low score and 1.3 million points challenge, and another good chunk of time being spent on the Renfield Full Clear. Even Pnaha had to struggle through these challenges.
I did not expect this to take more time than the Got That run. Woo! That was such a nice holiday spirit run.
After Britsha had breached the 30-minute barrier, this is kinda where I thought the war might end. He had conquered that barrier, and what more was there left to do? Of course, this mentality only lasted a few days before I realized that I couldn't just let go of this run so easily. I am by no means an incredible Peggle speedrunner. To give a bit of context, Britsha and I have had a great friendly rivalry that spans back to mid-2022 in fact, when he and I fought back and forth over minor records across all of Peggledom. Since then, we've always tried to one-up each other. But, speaking candidly, although at the very start of our Peggle record war, I was perhaps evenly matched with him, those days have long come and gone. Nowadays, I am minutes behind Britsha in most major categories. Britsha's level of experience and his knowledge of advanced strats are way beyond my own. And it's not because of luck or anything like that, it's because of dedication. Ever since the early days of our rivalry, I have not put nearly as much time into grinding Peggle as Britsha has, and it definitely shows. The single biggest advantage that Britsha has over me is his dedication to reaching goals. When Britsha sets a goal, he will grind for hours to reach it. And as I realized I couldn't just give up now, I knew I needed to match Britsha with my own dedication. So I began to grind the category, mainly playing offline late at night when I had no distractions. I would boot up a video or listen to music while playing and just focus intently on every single challenge as I went. And beyond that, I had one final secret weapon. For the first time, I was playing the challenges in a custom order. One of the fun things about the longer Peggle runs that involve challenges is that you can set custom routes or orders for your challenges. Obviously, you still have to complete all of them, but having a different order for them can make the grind more bearable. During this late night grind in October 2023, I had the very difficult challenges front-loaded. After completing any percent, I would continue with the Marina Duel first, just to get the most RNG and least player-based challenge out of the way first, and then I would dive into the really hard challenges. And on the 25th of October, about a week after Britsha had taken us below 30 minutes, I had a good run. It started off fairly uneventfully. With a roughly 5-minute any percent, it was not the best, but also not the worst first part of the run. The Marina Duel went fine, and then it was on to the first check of the run, with the Renfield full clear. Despite a sketchy end, I actually got it first try, and now I knew that we actually had a run going. Next was the 350k challenge. After struggling in the middle part of the level, I found myself with only a single ball remaining, still needing another 150k points. Every shot here would count. I clutched it out, and the run continued. In fact, in every previous run of mine, I had had at least one fail in this challenge, so suddenly I found myself on a sub-30 pace. The following challenge, the low score challenge, also surprisingly gave me little trouble, and now I found myself almost 7 minutes ahead of my PB. The next couple challenges went well enough, although I was spared from despair on the 50 oranges challenge by an insanely lucky final bounce. The 1.3 million challenge was next, and although his character is a bit of a meme, I had actually settled on using Claude for this level, as you can keep the starting shot going for a really long time and get a massive head start on points. Even so, this strategy does involve resetting until you get a good start, and this cost me a bit of time. Eventually, however, I did get to a point where I could take an easy 100k bucket shot and finish the challenge. I had lost a couple minutes of pace, but I was still ahead of record. Finally, only 2 challenges remained. The first was the Pyramid Pickup Challenge. Beyond what I mentioned before about how this challenge had been made significantly easier with some of the strats I made, those strats had since been perfected further. After discovering the Fireball strat, where you clear a path to the corner and then get very shallow angle shots to simply bounce into the bucket, Britsha, myself, and a few others had theorized different angles to bounce the fireballs at, to get a large gap to be able to freely shoot the rest of the balls. However, around the time of this run, I had realized that the solution was in front of us all along. The solution was to simply shoot the fireball at the exact same point that you would then be shooting the follow-up shots. As long as you kept firing in the same spot, the fireball by definition would have cleared everything out of the way of that particular shot. The level technically has 2 cycles of the moving parts to every 1 cycle of the bucket, meaning this strat would only work for 1/2 of the cycles. But you also get 2 fireballs, meaning that with good green peg placement, you can easily clear a path out for both cycles, and pretty quickly and reliably clear the challenge. And here, that's exactly what happened. I now found myself on the final challenge of the run, the 1 million points challenge, way ahead of my own PB and a significant chunk ahead of Britsha's high 20s time. As I began to rush the 1,000,000 points challenge, I was literally shaking. I didn't have the mic on since it was late at night for this offline grind, but suffice it to say, I was pretty nervous. I ended up slowing down a bit, taking my time to make sure I would have enough points by the last level. On the 3rd level, I slowed down long enough to get 10 free balls in a row, which earns you 100k style points and pretty much guaranteed me enough points overall. And after that, I made a mad dash through the last 2 levels. In fact, by the last level, I had so many points that I just needed to finish the level at all, win or lose. And the final time was a massive 26:51.
Let's go! Let's go! I'm going to bed, man. Good night. Good night.
This was unexpected, to say the least. No one, not even myself, had expected a time like this, at least not so soon. Almost 3 minutes ahead of Britsha's previous record, it would be hard to beat. Of course, it was nowhere near a perfect run, but the amount of luck and skill and consistency needed to get a time like this made it a pretty strong record, and indeed it would be a hard run to beat. Britsha gave the run a few more tries in the next few days, and although he was able to get a PB by a minute or so, the runs were tough and something always seemed to go wrong. For the time being, my record was there to stay. Britsha eventually stopped running the category, and it seemed that maybe the war for Holiday's 08 GM was finally over. The war had gone cold. Over the next couple weeks, the leaderboards wouldn't see much movement. In fact, the only change to happen would be that Pnaha would complete a second run of the category, where he managed to bring his time all the way down to a 36-minute time. 10 minutes off the current record, but still a respectable time for only doing it a few times. Even so, I certainly had my fun squeezing every little bit of enjoyment I could out of teasing both Pnaha and Britsha about this. Again, I want to reiterate that this was all in good fun, and it was clear to everyone that if either of them really put in the time and effort, they could almost certainly beat my time. But it was just kind of fun seeing Pnaha not be at the top for once, and seeing how apparently there was one area where I could still hold out against Britsha's onslaught of records. And to be clear, I had other reasons for doing this too. No one in the community knew it yet, but there was about to be a massive spotlight shown onto this category and others, and I would be the one to shine this spotlight. I love trying to bring together the Peggle community through events. In the past, I've hosted a couple break the record type events, with a lot of the top runners succeeding at breaking records in a live setting, with prize money on the line to spice things up.
And the sub hour for Splork is real! Let's go!
And so as December 2023 drew near, I knew I wanted to do some sort of special event for the holidays. And of course, what better way than to do a competition involving the Peggle Holiday Pack. And for that reason, I created Poetry's Holiday Blitz.
Yo, you know what time it is. It's level pack season. Let's go.
For this video, we don't need to go into all the details, but essentially I put up $100 and a bunch of other prizes to be raffled off for anyone willing to submit runs to the Peggle level pack leaderboards. The goal was to get all of the level packs a lot more love and attention, and it worked. During the month of December 2023, the total number of runs on the leaderboard went from 125 to about 500, and the total number of unique runners tripled. But with all of this, I still wanted to focus in some competition on some specific runs too. So I had bonus prizes and bonus multipliers for prize chances centered around a few specific categories. And one of these categories was, of course, Holiday's 08 GM. This is why I had been so relentless in my teasing about this category, because I wanted the competition to be all the more fierce when other top runners would doubtless turn their eyes onto this bizarre category. And so the month of December began with a massive push from dozens of Pegglers. And it wouldn't take long for someone to strike. This time, it really could be anyone. Would it be Polypies, who had recently dethroned Pnaha in Peggle Deluxe's main category? Would it be Any George or maybe Brassbeat, who are both milestone breakers discussed in my first Peggle video? Well, at this point, who it is probably shouldn't surprise anyone. There was only one person to make sense to go for it at this point. And of course, I'm talking about Britsha.
Britsha won! Holy shit! You actually won.
Britsha had finally taken back the crown, and with a great run too. This run is a great example of how a run like this can fluctuate all over the place, and how consistently gaining just a couple of seconds here and there can really add up. For instance, while Britsha had a loss on the Marina duel, there were several other segments where he gained back that time just by playing fast and smart. The run was now at a point where any major loss would be a run killer. But Britsha had proven that there was still time to shave off. And at this point, I really did throw in the towel. My run had time save, sure, but I did not feel the urge to return once again, especially after my last run had felt so strong and lasted for a decent amount of time on top. I decided that I wasn't ready to grind for the record again, and I decided to give up there. While making this video, I also asked Britsha for his thoughts on this and about the run overall, and here's what he had to say about the grind for the record.
Not grinding this run is actually, I actually realized like a lot of it is quite fun. It's they're unique challenges, they're like interesting, they are still really difficult and still require like an amount of luck, but it is still like a fun run to just do casually, to just like challenge yourself and like not do again or like that often. But grinding it is where it becomes so painful. You know, you have to always do the first 5 levels, and then after that, once you've done that, you then are forced to do the Renfrew full clear, and like you need to do that perfectly if you want to get a good time. Almost everything first try to get like the times that we've managed to get, and now to get world record, you have to have a flawless run where everything goes perfectly and you are doing everything quickly. Like, it is just painful to grind this now. Like, it is just pure pain.
And although this seems like it might be where the story ends, with Britsha finally beating me out in the Holidays 08 GM war, there's actually one last twist. Back to prove me wrong for teasing him earlier was Pnaha.
Holy shit, this attempt is... It didn't look that good at start, but I got some pretty clutch shots.
Pnaha blazed in, and within a few days of Britsha setting his 25-minute time, Pnaha now set a record of 23 minutes and 2 seconds, going much further than either I or Britsha had expected.
And GG. Whew. Oh, world record. Oh, finally.
This run was pretty incredible. Besides a few minor time losses here and there, this run really showed what the limit might look like for a category like this. And that is where the record currently stands. Pnaha has said that he thinks it can be beaten, but the time save from now becomes much harder to gain. There were even quite a few other runners who tried their hand at this category during the event in December, but none even came close to Pnaha. I'm sure it's possible that Britsha might go for it again, and heck, maybe I'll even take a stab at it. But no matter what happens in the future, Holidays 08 GM remains a shining example of how even the most obscure speedrun category can be the stage for epic battles when you have runners willing to put in time, effort, and passion into their craft. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please leave a like. It would really help me out.